Hi everybody, welcome back to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. And before we get on with today's review, let's just go back a few weeks to the Miracle 3800 custom video where we asked you a question. The question was, could you correctly identify the type of checkering that was on the gun? And as a result, if you were correct, you would win absolutely nothing. However, number of comments with the correct answer, quite a few with the wrong. So to put you all out of your suspense, it was flat top checkering, which is something you very rarely see at all, regardless of the age of the gun. I've probably only ever seen 2 or 3 guns with it on. Very much an acquired taste, although I do think it suits that particular gun. So just a bit of fun, so thanks for taking part. So on to today's review. Now, having done quite a few requested reviews recently and having looked back through the catalogue with my videographer Max of what we'd done, I noticed that incredibly we hadn't actually done a Japanese Browning. Plenty of Miracles, which everybody knows I love, and a couple of B425 Belgian Brownings, but not a mass-produced Japanese one. So today we are going to look at a Browning 425. So to give you a little bit of history, the 425 was the successor to the 325, makes sense. 325 came out in the UK in 1987, which was the successor to the Citori, which is an interesting gun. The main reason I understand is the Citori was a little bit heavier, so what they did is they slimmed it down, changed it ever so slightly in terms of certainly the thickness of the comb, and they renamed it the 325. So 325 was 1987 to 1994/5, and then the 425 was born. We'll probably look at the differences between the 325 and the 425, etc. in a later video, but for now we're just going to concentrate on the 425. Now, what was interesting about the 425 is it went away from the barrel manufacture methods that they used in the 325 and also at the time the GTI. And what that was chopper lump. So this was actually the first mass-produced Browning where they moved over to essentially sleeving the barrels, where they got the 2 tubes and sleeved into the chambers into the lump to manufacture the barrel. So 425 came out 1995, back end of the 325 was 94, so there's obviously a crossover period, but from memory, the earliest 425 I can ever remember is 1995. And it was available initially in a grade 1, a grade 5, and a grade 6. I think the grade 6 came a couple of years later. So what we've got here is we've got a grade 6, which is the very, very top end of the guns that are box locked actions. So what I mean by that is, if you go back to a previous video, I think of one which was the 687 EER Beretta, or you compare it to a Miracle MK11, etc., it basically means that all the workings are here in this little box, but also it doesn't have side plates. What I mean by side plates is that the metal comes back into the recess of the wood and continues the engraving pattern, etc., etc. The idea behind a side plated gun is it's designed to look like a side lock, which of course is a lot more intricate and a lot more expensive. So 425 grade 6, this is actually a 1999 gun that was sold brand new in 2000 by a very famous UK supplier, which was at the time DJ Lit in Newport in Wales. So I would imagine a lot of people watching this video from the UK will certainly recall that dealer because they were absolutely huge at the time. Big Browning agent, Beretta, Prazzi, and that kind of stuff. So this would be in the grade 6, we'll start off with the action. As you would assume, it's a more ornate gun than a grade 1, a grade 5, and they also did a grade 3, but I believe that came out a couple of years later than the 1994 introduction of the 425. So what you've got with this is we've got the traditional, very robust Japanese build quality, deep body action, and it's very interesting with shooting because what you tend to find that shooters are either a Browning fan or a Beretta fan. I had a conversation with a customer the other day and it was literally, I've always shot Brownings. I thought I'd get myself a Beretta. I can't shoot it. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't suit me. I'm not used to the way it feels. So I'm going to go back to a Browning. And that is a common conversation that I tend to have with people, regardless of which way it goes, Beretta to Browning or Browning to Beretta. Let's not discount Miracle, of course, in that, which we would put under the Browning umbrella, so to speak. So nice deep action. Very solid, very durable, with the hinge pin going across the action, which of course is a different design to the way that Bretta was designed. And what you've got is you've got this very, very ornate, deep scroll work, which was actually the same engraving as they used on the 325 and on the Satori prior to that. The difference between the grade 5 and the grade 6 is that the grade 6 has got gold embellishments. So what you've got is you've got the traditional deep scroll throughout, all along the bottom plate, along the barrel lumps, which I'll show you in a second, the trigger guard, the top lever, the back strap. The whole thing is profusely engraved. That's the word I'm going to use. And with game scenes, you've got 3 ducks sort of taking off here on the one side. On the other side, you've got some pheasants, also look like they're taking off. And on the bottom, it's, I believe, an English setter. So with the grade 6, the engraving pattern is exactly the same as the grade 5, only those things I've just pointed out, the ducks, the pheasants, and the English setter, are picked out in gold. Other than that, the guns don't differ. The woodwork, although you would expect on a grade 6 to be a higher grade, was actually the same as what they used on the grade 5s. So that's the action. Like I said, this is a 1999 gun, sold new in 2000, supplied new in 2000, we want to say. And as we've seen with a few of the other Japanese guns like the Mirakus, it's got the hallmark on the back strap, which denotes better quality steel, which is kind of in keeping with the fact that this is a grade 6 shotgun. If we look at the barrels, we've got the lumps that are engraved and also the slide is engraved. Now, obviously, with a grade 1, you wouldn't get that. And anything below a grade 5, in all fairness, you wouldn't get that because ultimately it's more machining, more processing, and it costs more money, is the bottom line. This is a sporting model. Now, they were available in game. Quite a rare gun, to be fair, a 425 grade 6 game gun. I've probably only have seen probably 2 or 3. The Sporter, which again, from my point of view, for modern day shooting, a little bit of extra weight, I would say is a much more suitable companion to be used as an all-rounder. So we've got 30-inch barrels with Invector multi-chokes. Now, that means they're actually bored at 18.5, you've got the little stamp on there. You've even got the London proof mark there saying 1999, which all ties in with the provenance and with a history attached to the gun. So 18.5 is ever so slightly backboard. I think in numbers it's about 730, 731, something like that. So not a nominal bore at 18.729, but just a little bit overboard. 10mm sporting rib, which is standard Browning gear, with the tram line, with the centre bead, all original in terms of bead. That's not been broken off like it happens in many cases. And obviously the original foresight bead is also retained. Interesting case in point, if we do go back to the 325, the 325 for the majority of its production actually used a wider 12mm rib. So I think when they did the 425, they looked at making a tiny bit lighter, and that's where they started to use the 10mm rib. So Invector multi-chokes, with it being 20 plus years old, it is of course not steel shot proofed, which is what you'd expect. However, having said that, no problem with standard performance steel with correct choking. So I wouldn't let that put you off owning a gun like this with multi-chokes. You've just got to be careful. Obviously very tight chokes with steel, etc. We'll probably talk a lot more about steel in a specific video later on the channel. Adjustable trigger, which is what you get with a Sporter. You won't get it with a game gun. I believe the thinking behind that was shotgun manufacturers looked at it from the point of view is if you went out and shot clays in the summer evening, and you went to the pub for a pint, you'd have a t-shirt on, so you would have less clothing on. And of course, in the winter, you'd be togged up a bit more with your skeet vest, jacket, whatever. And therefore, by being able to adjust the length of pull on this little rail here, you could change it accordingly to how much clothing you'd got on, so it didn't affect the gun fit. Initially, if you bought a Browning at this time, you would have had, I think, a couple of spare triggers. This gun hasn't got the spare triggers with it, but it's no problem to change the triggers. It's worth pointing out the gold on the trigger. This is a very interesting point. If you buy a new MK38 today, Miraku MK38, or most Browning grade 5-esque models, they come with like a silver trigger which matches the trigger guard. Obviously, with this being a grade 6, it's all about the gold birds, which is why it's got a gold trigger. If you come across one of these, it's had an awful lot of use and been, you know, well cared for regardless. People tend to rub the action, and as a result of that, the gold will fade. So to find one like this in what I believe to be very, very good original condition, at 23 years old is quite a feat, in all fairness. This gun took some sourcing, and we're very pleased to show it to you. So you've also got, one point out on the bottom of the trigger guard, you've got a gold partridge. Now, I'm not entirely certain, but I don't think the grade 5 had the same engraving on the trigger guard, but don't quote me on that because I couldn't be sure for now. More engraving on the forend. Forend catch is engraved, the forend iron engraved, and if you cast your mind back to some of the Miracle President videos, we talked about some of the hand polishing of the ejector kickers, etc. Obviously, with this being a mass-produced gun that wasn't produced in the Miracle Custom Shop, this hasn't got those features, because if it did, it would cost an awful lot more money. Now, if we move on to the woodwork, very, very nicely figured American walnut, as you would expect. Richly figured, very strong in the head, nicely shaped pistol grip with double point checkering, and a not particularly great brown heel plate, which I'm not a fan of because I think that the shape is all wrong and it can be quite uncomfortable, particularly for a new shooter when you mismount the shotgun. Case in point, someone has actually removed the toe off the bottom of it just to stop it digging in. Apart from that, the stock remains unaltered. Now, I've heard a number of times people say about grade 6s and comment on that some of them haven't got teardrops. So by teardrops, we mean the dropper points here on the stock. Now, this is completely original woodwork on this gun. All the numbers match. It's never had a replacement woodwork set put on it, but it doesn't have the teardrops. I can't tell you why that is. Some grade 6s you'll come across will have the teardrops. They will also have ovals in the stock. It's a very interesting one. I don't have an answer for it, but yes, it's all original. But some people do make the point, you know, with it being a grade 6, if you bought a grade 6 today, which the current replacement for this gun, because they no longer make a grade 6, will be a Heritage, which is a side plate. Now, prior to the 525 Heritage, they actually did a 425 model with side plates called a Privilege. Majority of those are, from memory, about 2002 or 3. Massive, massive money in the UK, never really sold very well. And I think, from my point of view, people would probably look at this grade 6 and then look at the Privilege and think, well, it's an awful lot more money, and what am I getting? Weight, £7, 12 ounces. Absolutely spot on from my point of view, what you really want for a sporter in 30-inch barrels. You might go to £8, but you certainly want any more. When you shut it, you've got that very satisfying browning clunk. Put the forend iron on, and there we go. So it's a really, really nice example. Haven't checked the balance of this yet. This might catch me out because, as I've explained on previous videos, guns that have got quite dense American walnut on them, and this is largely Japanese brownings, can vary massively in how they balance. So if we just put that there, it is a bit barrel heavy, to be fair. Okay. Some people like that, some people don't. It's personal preference, but also it's not a difficult job to balance out a shotgun, so to speak. Now, we talked about the teardrops, and again, throughout the life of the Browning grade 6, if you like, they've come in various different cases. If you buy a Heritage today, it'll come in a very nice fancy opaline case, whereas this one, back in 1999, 2000, looks like a big Lego brick. So we've got sliding locks, and like I've said before, when I try and source these guns for the reviews, I always try and find something that's as original as possible, has got some sort of provenance, documentation, case, etc. And we've pretty much hit the jackpot with this one, because inside here we have got the original 425 little manual, which tells you about cleaning, chokes, etc. It's just nice to have, you know. And we've got a certificate which tells you all about the Invector chokes, which of course the gun comes with. And interestingly enough, we have a completely unstamped warranty card. Now, I'm pretty certain you won't be able to register the warranty today because the gun is 23 years old. But again, it's just nice to have these little things. And in here, in a non-standard T multi-choke box, we have got the chokes and the choke key. Now, we talked in previous videos about kind of bucket list guns and holy grail guns, and this is kind of one of those as well. If you went down the Browning route when you started shooting, and for me that tends to be a lot, it depends a lot on where you learn to shoot. You'll go to certain shooting schools and they will be very pro Browning. You'll go to certain shooting schools, they'll be very Beretta pro, and it's just as simple as that. Most people will go and buy something similar to what they've learned to shoot with, and this is no exception. So if you started off with a 425 club school gun, you might have bought yourself a grey one, but you might have thought, one day I'm going to buy myself something really, really fancy. And this, for what it is absolutely stunning. Great all-rounder. Take it on a peg, take it simulated game shooting. Ultimately, its primary use is for clay shooting because of the extra weight, the wider rib, etc. But these things, like Miracu's, because let's not forget they are made in the same factory by the same people, are absolutely bulletproof. Getting quite scarce. If you can come across a good 325, 425, etc., in a grade 6 specification, my suggestion would be get your hands on it. Simple as that. So that has been the Browning 425 grade 6, which I will just clarify. Towards the end of the manufacture of these, which is before the 525 came out, they actually called them the Ultimate. And the idea with that was to differentiate between the grade 5, which has always been known as the Prestige, and then the grade 6, which obviously denotes that it's even higher grade still. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Feel free to like and comment below. Anything you want to know about this gun or the Brownings, etc. Always be happy to help. Don't forget to check out the website. Email me with any questions. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. And finally, keep sending in those review requests. We will do our utmost to bring you the guns that you want to see here on the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. See you again soon. Cheers.